Hi, I'm Paul McBratney. I'm one of the solutions engineers here at AlertLogic. And if you've been following some of the developments we've recently released on our platform, you'll note that we've been starting to add some dashboards to provide more data and more context for customers that are using and managing our products. One of the more recent additions has been the Managed Account Security Summary, and this is designed specifically for those customers that have multiple accounts and are managing multiple accounts, and for those partners that share multiple customers with us and are managing those customer accounts as well. It's designed to give you and your team the ability to look down across those accounts and find out where your security hotspots are, to help you understand where you need to focus on patching and where you need to allocate your limited time and limited resources to get the most bang for your buck. We all understand that if you've done patching, and I spent about 20 years as a Windows admin, if you've actively done patching, you know it's very, very time consuming. There's often some testing involved. And you only have a limited amount of time to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So this dashboard, first of all, is going to show you how many incidents have been raised that are critical and high. This is when we actually detect and raise a security incident. How many of these have been high severity and how many accounts they show in. This is all demo data, by the way, so there's not a tremendous amount of data here. The average threat risk index, and the threat risk index is a little shorthand where a customer can look at an individual account and basically score how vulnerable that account is. And the intent is to use this as a marker to help customers and partners drive that score down to improve it over time. So it's something that you can report on. It's something that you can use as a benchmark for each account, and obviously you can average it over a group of accounts. And then the average vulnerability age in days. We're going to come back to the scorecard by accounts here in just a second, but you can also look to see which accounts have the most incidents, which have the highest threat risk index, again, high being poor, the most vulnerable accounts, the most security remediations. Remediations are the actual steps that you take, what you need to do to patch. It's basically that response element. What I would urge customers to focus on is, first, focus on the accounts that have had active attacks. In this case, we show you which have had high and critical incidents. That's an indicator that someone's been interested in this account, and you likely want to focus your efforts in that account. The other thing is, you'll notice that this also has the highest number of vulnerabilities. Now, a note on patching. Patching is one of the things that you can do, and this is for Windows servers, for Linux servers. We don't really so much deal in IoT devices, but I make a point to patch all of my devices as well. It is one of the single most powerful things you can do to improve your security posture on virtually any device. But I would focus my efforts on where you have the most high and critical security incidents. And certainly if that corresponds to the open vulnerabilities, to focus there. So we're going to click through and we're going to go to the remediation screen, which is where you can actually go to make some changes. And the remediations, the vulnerabilities are shown by threat level, high, medium, low, and informational. Your most serious are going to be the highs. That's where you want to focus your effort, and there are different categories. I'm really more interested in those that are security related. I'm going to sort this by remediation type. So this is a great example. If you've ever worked with servers running PHP, and you'll see this mostly on Linux servers, but occasionally on Windows as well, you know that PHP has a record of being exploited. So it's one of those things, if you're running PHP, you want to be sure that you're patching on a regular basis. When you open up this remediation, one of the things you'll notice is you have all of these exposures, all of these different potential ways that you can be exploited because you're not running a current version of PHP, and upgrading to this newer version of PHP will resolve all of these exposures. Now keep in mind, you get those notifications on a regular basis. Perhaps Microsoft has put out a patch for Windows, and if you go and read the documentation, one of the things you'll note in that is it's telling you all of the security bugs that they fixed, and this is that exact same thing. The other thing is the affected assets are your servers. If you wanted to drill down a little further, you could also look at the evidence. But this is what I would encourage customers to do, is focus on those assets in those deployments or in those accounts that have had the most attacks, the ones that have the highest number of high vulnerabilities. Focus on those first. Now, once you've done what you're supposed to do, so let's say you come in and patch these servers, then you're going to go to concluded, and you're going to continue through here, and you're basically going to remove that off of the list. When we scan again, if we still detect those, they're going to appear back on the list. There are times when you may want to dispose of a vulnerability, and you're going to have to state your reason. Perhaps it's an acceptable risk. Now, here's where that falls into play. Let's say you're running an older OS, and your version of Linux does not support the new version of PHP. You're not going to be able to update it. So you're going to have to determine it's an acceptable risk. What we'd love to see is that you have another compensating control. I can't patch to the newest version that doesn't have these vulnerabilities, but at the firewall or in my network security policies, I'm going to limit access via the network to that server, which would be my compensating control. And the other thing is, when you dispose of these, you can dispose of them for a week, a month, 6 months, a year, or forever. Just keep in mind, if you do something forever, it's never going to show again in your list. There are appropriate times to do that. Sometimes you may want to push these back a few weeks so they're not appearing on your list. Use this carefully, because obviously you don't want to silence all of the remediations that need to be done and not patch. That's not a good strategy. And the other thing is, always think about what you can do when you can't patch, how you can build a compensating control. How can you limit access to that server? Could you put it in a different firewall zone? Could you put it in a zone with different network security policies? How could you limit access to that server so it's much harder to exploit? Again, I'm Paul McBratney. Thank you for listening, and we hope that you have a great day.